We usually think of post-traumatic stress syndrome as it applies to veterans who are returning home from war, but it can also apply to anyone who's lived through a traumatic situation like that in West. Former Air Force Colonel Kim Olson from Grace After Fire is joining us with more on this. And your organization, Kim, might be able, the work you do, might be able to shed some light on what the folks are dealing with there in West, particularly how?
Well, like to your point, post-traumatic stress is a natural reaction to trauma. What we worry about is the disorder where people don't get through it.
Right.
And so one way that folks can help themselves through this, because Boston and West can be triggering devices, so if you suffered a trauma, it may reemerge. A couple things is keep some distance from it. Stop watching the images, stop reading about it, get some good distance from it. The second thing that we recommend to folks is to talk to someone that they are comfortable with, someone that they trust to tell their story to. The other thing is we find, especially like the folks at West, something that helps because we want to get control again. I think that's what's hard about trauma is you sort of lose control in the way the world is. So to get control, you see donations coming in, you see people going out and doing things. So if something is your passion, go out and volunteer. Habitat for Humanity, work at a local food bank, do something, do a walk in a cause for folks, and that helps you to contribute in a small way by doing something positive.
So it is possible that people will move back into their neighborhoods eventually. That's the goal for many of the people who've been displaced by this. And then there will be a trigger perhaps that will set off a response, which is a response to the trauma itself. Is that a concern? I'm thinking, for example, 4th of July fireworks, or just the fear that this could happen again. Will they live with that?
And that's a very insightful question, because what happens is the body says, okay, we don't want to ever experience that trauma again. So it sets up pretty strong triggering devices inside the brain. So it is a normal reaction that if you were to hear a loud explosion that you might break out in sweat or that, and then again, that's the kind of thing we tell our vets to be cautious
I was going to say, not unlike a vet who comes home having experienced a roadside bomb or been shot at in battle. And so as some of these people move back as well, there's going to be less familiarity. They're going to be back in their hometown, but as these schools, for example, have been completely demolished, some kids will be going to school maybe in other districts. They'll be broken up. How do you have cohesiveness with school spirit, with sporting events, when perhaps you can't even form the team because kids have been displaced and dispersed? How do you deal with that? Well,
again, a lot of folks today are very resilient people. Again, we are wired to survive, if you will. And what helps is that you find common ground. So, pep rallies get you ready for the football games, going to things like watching the Rangers where you're around folks that are cheering for a common cause. Churches are great places to go to find a place that's safe and a thing that you can heal from. So I think if folks will go to places that are positive, trauma can be a mechanism in which you can have productive things happen within a town.
Well, we certainly hope so. We've certainly seen that everyone has come together there in really specific and special ways. So the organization, again, is?
Grace After Fire, and you can get information about post-traumatic stress and just post-traumatic stress disorder at graceafterfire.org.
And it's a connection I hadn't really made that again, the work you do is so insightful into what these folks are dealing with.
Well,
so thank you.
Thanks for having me on today.